Today let's write a hook to mock simple banking activity like deposit and withdrawals. Here the user should be able to make multiple deposits and multiple withdrawals, and the hook should take care of their balance. That is, whenever the user deposits, the balance should increase, and whenever they withdraw, the balance should decrease by that amount, right? And the hook should also make sure the users don't try to withdraw more amount than they have deposited. It's actually a very simple and straightforward hook. Let's see how it goes. This hook has two functionality, the deposit and the withdrawal. Deposit happens via a payment transaction and the withdrawal happens via an invoke transaction. In the deposit flow, if an account sends 5 Xahau to the hook account, the info gets stored in the state. After some time, if the same account wants to send another transaction, say 1 Xahau, it gets added to the previous balance. For example, send 4 Xahau again, the total balance will be 10 Xahau. Now let's see the withdrawal flow. You can request a maximum of 10 Xahau here, as you have a balance of 10 Xahau on the hook account. If you request more than that, it fails. Let's say you request 5 Xahau. 5 Xahau gets sent to your account and your balance gets adjusted. Now request 2 Xahau. 2 Xahau gets sent to your account and the same amount will be deducted from the hook account's state. Now request 3 Xahau. 3 Xahau gets sent to your account and since the balance is 0, the state gets deleted. Now you can no more request withdrawal as you don't even have the funds in the hook account. So this is what we are going to build today. Get the hook account field from originating transaction. Get the hook account. We have done this enough times in previous videos, so I'm just going fast here. Now check if the transaction is happening via the hook account, that is the account which is sending the transaction is in fact the hook account, in which case we just accept the transaction because we are not interested in outgoing transaction, we are interested in the incoming transactions. Now check what kind of transaction it is using a hook API called OTXN type. This gives the transaction type of the originating transaction. So this hook will be hooked on to a payment and invoke transaction. So we will be checking for both these transaction types. Do the same for invoke. You can hover over the macro to see its definition. So TT payment is 0. You can simply put 0 here, but it can get confusing later on, so it's good to use the helper macro. You want to look at all the helper macros, then copy the macro and switch to macro.h file. Here you can find all the definitions. You can just go through this. Let's switch back. In this hook, a payment is a deposit and invoke is a claim or withdrawal. Deposit is easy, so let's start with that. Fetch the amount the user is sending. Remember, the native currency is 8 bytes. We know how to fetch it. Use OTXN field and fetch it via SF amount. Now let's check if it's native currency or not. If it's not native currency, then just accept it. I'll say non-Xahau transaction. We are interested in Xahau transaction. So if it's Xahau, let's continue. Let's convert this buffer into XFL. It involves two steps. First, convert it into drops using amount to drops macro. Let's store it in 64 bits or 8-byte variable called otxn underscore drop. Next, we need to convert this drop to XFL. I'll call it amount underscore XFL. Let's use the hook API float underscore set, pass -6 as exponent and drops as mantissa. So this gives amount in XFL. So the buffer amount is converted to XFL using these two steps. We convert the buffer into XFL for mathematical operations. Now, if this same user had previously deposited any Xah, then let's add the current deposit to the previous one. Let's fetch previous deposit information from the state. Let's call it amount underscore in underscore state. I'll initialize it to 0 just in case there is no previous deposits, then the value will remain 0. Now let's add two values and save it back into the state. Total is equal to float underscore sum, just in case previously the same account had some balance. So amount underscore XFL, add it to amount in state. Now put back the total amount into the state. This has to be total, the final balance, and this completes the deposit logic. Accept the transaction and end the flow. Successful deposit. That's it. Let's test it before moving any further. Everything looks fine. Let's just trigger on payment transaction for now. I'll leave everything the same. Let's do it once again. Okay, it's working. Send a payment transaction to hook account. I'll send one Xah to hook account. Let's display the log for hook account. Deposit successful. Let's cross verify using an explorer. Let's copy the value here. XFL to hex string. And it's one Xah. Let's repeat the process and see if it adds up properly. Again, send one Xah. Deposit successful. Refresh. So 1 plus 1 should be 2. We should have 2 Xah, and it has 2 Xah. So it's adding up properly. Let's move forward with withdrawal logic. It has to come inside invoke. Let's start by fetching the amount from the state. Amount in state, I'll put it 0. Try to fetch it from the state. Somebody might be trying to trick your hook and they may not have a balance, but still they might be trying to withdraw something. So just check if the balance is indeed present. If not, just reject this transaction with no amount to withdraw. If there is an amount in state, let's check if the amount the user is requesting is greater than they have deposited, in which case let's reject. You can't withdraw more funds than what you have in your account, right? So let's check the same. User should pass the withdrawal amount as transaction parameter. So let's fetch it. OTX and param. Let's call it WD for withdrawal. If the user forgot to pass this value, then let's reject it. Say you forgot to pass the amount you want to withdraw. Something like this. If the user passed all the proper data, let's compare it. If the withdrawal request amount is not less than or equal to the amount in state, then let's reject it. So the request is present inside to withdraw. Let me copy and paste it here as first parameter. This has to be less than or equal to whatever total balance you have in the state. Compare if it's less than or equal to. If not, if it's true, it will return 1. If not, it will not be 1. So if not, reject it. You cannot withdraw more than what you have, say, in the treasury. But if the user requested amount less than or equal to the actual deposit, then let's send it to the user, but also subtract it from the total amount and save it back to the state. Let's actually use float underscore sum API itself. Yeah, let's make use of float underscore sum, pass in the total amount, amount in state, and the withdrawal amount. So this actually adds up to the total balance, right? To subtract it, just negate the second value, that is float underscore negate. Now withdrawal amount gets subtracted from the total amount present in the state. Now put the total back into the state, but also check for the condition wherein the total is 0. If the total is 0, let's just delete that state. So this is how you delete a state. State underscore set. The value and the number of bytes should be 0, and then pass in the key which you want to delete. That's it. Else, if total is not 0, then just save the total in the state. Let's have a trace of total here, just in case we need to debug it. Now the final step is to forward the amount to the person who is requesting it. Let's inform Xahau that we are going to make one transaction from within the hook account. So reserve it, declare a variable txn. Let's use the macro prepare underscore payment underscore simple. Pass in the txn. Second parameter is amount in drops, but the to withdraw, we converted it to XFL. So now the task is to convert the XFL into drops. Luckily we have a hook API for it called float underscore int. The first parameter is the XFL value. The next parameter is the decimal places, which is 6, and the ABS, which means it will be always positive. Next, specify the account to which you want to send this amount. So that is the account which triggered or sent a invoke transaction, which is here, and destination and source tags are 0. This is preparation. Let me hover over here and copy the size. Okay, this is preparation of transaction. Now we need to actually emit the transaction. Let's declare a 32 byte buffer called hook hash to copy the hook hash. Now let's actually emit the transaction. Emit hook hash. The second parameter is the actual prepared transaction template which is present inside TXN. So if there is anything wrong, which means it didn't copy 32 bytes of emit hash, then fail. Failed, please try again later. If it's successful, then just accept the transaction and end the flow here. Done. Amount withdrawn successfully. I hope everything is fine. Save the file. Okay, looks fine. Let's test it. Let's compile. Now this time set it on payment as well as invoke transaction. Let's start by sending 1 ZA to the hook account. Previously we already sent 2 ZA. Now we are sending 1 ZA, which means the state should have 3 ZA. Let's check that. Yep, we have 3 ZA here. Now let's withdraw. Withdrawing is done via invoke. Invoke from same account, Alice. Now the important step. Pass in the amount you want to withdraw, which has to be less than whatever is present inside the state. The key is WD. Let's withdraw 2 ZA. Remember the state has 3 ZA. We are trying to withdraw 2 ZA out of it. Everything looks fine. Okay, let's pass this. Amount withdrawn. Okay, look at this. This has to send 2 ZA to Alice, and it works. Let's go back to the Explorer and cross-verify it. It had 3 ZA, but we withdrew 2 ZA out of it, so currently it should have 1 ZA left. Yep, perfect. Let's withdraw 1 ZA now, which should empty the state, which should delete the state according to our logic. Let's check that. Amount withdrawn successfully. Look here. And it got forwarded. Let's cross verify in the browser. This should get deleted. And the state information isn't loading because it got deleted. Now perform this once again. There's nothing in the state, so it throws an error that no amount to withdraw. Nice, both deposit and withdraw is working. So you can try different test cases that try to withdraw more than what you have in the state and other things. But there are 2 important things to fix before using this code in the production. The first one is a bit critical. We will have a totally different dedicated video on it. But the second one is about the fee. We are writing both deposit and withdraw logic in the same file. Since it's invoked on different transaction type, we can separate the hook and significantly reduce the execution fee. Let's do that in our next video. I hope this was informative. Please like and share this video and see you in the next one.